Hello everyone and welcome to this Euronet Plus event on EU politics and youth. Euronet Plus is the leading radio network of EU news with 15 radio broadcasters across Europe reaching 14 million listeners every day in 15 languages. As for myself, I'm Quentin Deschandelier. I'm more commonly known as the MEP assistant. I'm a content creator on Twitch who tries to make EU politics more understandable for young people, and I'm going to be moderating today's discussion. So why are we talking about youth and Europe? It's not a secret for anyone. The most popular EU policy is one made for young people, the Erasmus program. No one needs to introduce this program anymore. Yet, young people more and more around Europe are being more and more vocal about issues that are of concerns to them, are important for them, whether it's climate change, whether it's unemployment, and they are actively challenging their national governments, European governments, the European Union to act and answer their concerns. So that's why the EU has decided to bring youth back to the center of European politics. So, for instance, 2022 was the European Year of the Youth, and young people have also been given a central role in the Conference on the Future of Europe. But is it enough? To discuss this, so we invited to this event a group of EU politicians and young influencers to talk about what the EU is doing for the youth and what young people actually expect from Europe, especially as we're going closer and closer from the next European elections in 2024. So to start this discussion, I'm joined by three great members of the European Parliament. So first, Dace Melbārde from Latvia, who is part of the European People's Party. Welcome. Irina Joveva from Slovenia, who is part of the Renewal Europe group. Welcome as well. And Tilly Metz from Luxembourg, who is a member of the Greens EFA group. Welcome to you. So I'm very happy that to have all of you today with us to discuss this important issue. So perhaps to introduce a bit the discussion, recently, the European Parliament has adopted a resolution about the European Year of the Youth to discuss, to give its opinion on the outcome of this year and how could it be followed up. So, Irina Joveva, I would start with you because I know that you took the floor in the European Parliament in the context of this resolution. So, perhaps could you briefly share what was your impression about this European Year of the Youth?
Of course. Thank you very much also for the invitation. I'm very excited about the questions and everything. I have to say that it bothers me a little bit that we already spoke about this European Year of Youth now, actually in November, because the year is not over yet. So I think it would be better if we talked about it, I don't know, in at least January or maybe a little bit after that. So it would be easier to look back, and see what was good and what was bad. I also emphasized that in my plenary speech. I think that we have done a lot, and I'm sure that we would have done less if this wasn't a year dedicated to youth, unfortunately, because they forget about young people quite a lot of times, and I think we always have to not only think about them, but speak with them and accept their ideas, their comments, everything. We are doing that not enough. But in this year, I think it was better. And I think that we have to learn from everything that we got in this year and also take it not only in the next year but next years, so that we bring European Union and what we do to the youngsters, because we are doing this for them. Just one last sentence. I think that the events that we had are fine, but we still have to do a lot more on the legislative things.
And speaking about the future, so you're right, the European Year of the Youth is not yet over. We still have one more month until the end of the year. But looking forward, what more do you think the EU could do as a follow-up to this European of the Youth? I know that's a Melbārde maybe to start.
I think it's important that we look at the results of the year not only in the quantitative sense, but also what is the long-term effect of the year. And I think that one good initiative really I would like to highlight is a EU Youth Test. And I truly hope that it will be really efficient instrument with a holistic approach, how we will really engage young people in the future policy plannings. So because the idea of the youth test is that we respect and measure needs of the young people in all type of EU policies, and we also encourage national policy makers to do the same. I think that we now have to concentrate that really to have it as a real mechanism, not just to leave it on the paper. The second issue I'd like to raise here is that I think that it's very good that this year highlighted the health issues of young people. In particular, mental health issues. I do hope that the next step will be a European plan for mental health protection in education and in the training. Somehow, I agree with my colleague that annual year somehow is going to the end, but our work for young people should continue, and it should be and we should concentrate really on the real engagement of young people.
I mean, what about you, Tilly Metz? How do you think, we heard about the youth test, how to make youth real part of the political agenda, not just like a box to tick once a year. So how do you see it going forward to indeed actually make youth a center part of EU politics?
First of all, if you look back why this year of the youth was initiated, it was really indeed because we were aware that especially young people suffered a lot from the pandemic. The consequences on their studies, on school, on their social life. I always remember I was speaking with a young student, and people in our age or in my age always used to say the greatest time of my life are the time when you are a student. And then this young person answered to me, but for me it was the most sad time because I was really isolated in a small room. So the issue of mental health is certainly important to tackle. And when we think, it's also about democracy. We have 73 million, that was in 2021, young people living in the EU between 15 and 29 years old. So I am very happy also that this Charter of Youth and Democracy was released with very good idea. I mean, key is of course education also, to keep the youngsters informed about their possibility in order to empower them, to make them participate really in the political dialogue. And it was already said, not to speak about them, but really with them. And therefore also in the future, we have really to install a consultation mechanism with young people. I'm also really advocating that the year where you are able to elect should be 16, because not to make it mandatory. I mean, in Luxembourg, you have to vote, not to make it mandatory for young people, but to give them the possibility. Because I spoke recently also at the Jugendkonvent in my country with young people. They have great ideas, and it is about their future. So we really need to push, to empower, to make them connect throughout Europe, all the young people. So connecting, participating and empowering, I think that is really something very important, and that we find really also in this charter. And then, of course, reinforcing also the EU programs for youth. We have already Erasmus, and I'm happy that the budget was raised, but now we have also Alma, though, for the young people in an apprenticeship that they can also travel. We have Discover EU, but we could do much more in order to aim those goals, as I said, of participating, empowering and connecting young people.
And so, like I mentioned already, we discussed it, so 2022 is the European Year of the Youth. And we got a question from a German journalist, from the Euronet Plus German member. So let's have a look at this question and we can discuss it right after.
Hi, I'm Antonia from Germany. Why did people in Germany hear so little about the European Year of Youth?
So, I will go back to you actually, Tilly Metz. So without going into the specifics of the German case, what do you think people have missed the European Year of the Youth, like Antonia was just saying right now?
Yeah, because I did not really hear what
she was saying.
Sorry.
No problem. She was saying, was as young people in Germany heard so little about the European Year of the Youth?
Yeah, so I think it's what has been missing is certainly, okay, it was announced end of the year 2021. So I think for some association and NGOs, it was very difficult to prepare themselves. There was a lot, I was looking a little bit what was happening. So there were 8,500 activities. There were a lot of countries. There were also policy initiatives. There were the budget raising. But I think that we have, and that is my main demand, that we don't make it now a one-shot year, but that we have to change the system. And as I said, it's a question about democracy, and that we need to regularly listen to them and make them more participate. So I think what was missing is maybe also the time to prepare for this year, and also to have a clear following up. But maybe it is, as you said, too early to speak about that we need concrete steps, we need legislation now following in order not to make it nice to have, but to make it really a system change, to have young people more included in the discussion, because, as I said, it's about their future.
And actually, if I'm not mistaken, the Parliament in its resolution on the European Year of the Youth was actually suggesting to prolong a bit the European Year of the Youth until March of 2023, because indeed there was so little time to prepare. It was announced at the end of 2021. So indeed that's not something you can improvise, and you need more time to make it impact a bit more. But moving on to a different issue than still on youth, of course, but moving on from the European Year of the Youth, we got other questions, a couple of questions actually from the Bulgarian member of Euronet Plus. So let's have a look. We're going to cover like other issues that are also very important for youth in Europe, of course.
I'm Luba Konstantinova from the Bulgarian National Radio. I have two questions. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, especially, the effectiveness of disinformation targeting young people in Eastern Europe has been noticeable. Does the European Parliament plan extended measures regarding their media literacy? And the second one, young people in Bulgaria often suffer from violations of their labor rights, especially those of them who do not possess the skills most in demand on the labor market. They don't signal the institutions, they don't look for a solution, but they endure. What is the policy aimed at uneducated young people in this regard?
So maybe we'll take one question at a time. So maybe to cover Luba's first questions on the rise of disinformation, particularly targeting young people in the context of the war in Ukraine, and the Parliament's recommendation on media literacy. Is this something that an issue that the Parliament has identified? So that's Melbārde, maybe.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's a very relevant question. In 2021, I worked on my report on media in the digital decade, and in our report, we, as a Parliament, we called on the Commission to develop an overreaching media and information literacy strategy. And I'm very happy to see that this October Commission has published guidelines for teachers and educators in schools how to work with young people. But of course it's not enough. I think we have to engage the different type of institutions able to address and engage young people in this discussion. For instance, libraries also is a very good network to work with. For instance, I myself, I work a lot with local libraries. First of all, just to train librarians, and then when they meet young people and organize events for young people, they are more prepared to explain these issues and to have dialogue with young people on that. I think it's very important that journalists themselves, particularly young journalists, knowing well young people, that they also engage in media literacy programs, and then they address young people, that they engage young people in their programs, in their debates. So again, it's we need really multiple approach to this issue.
And speaking of multiple approach, like to open up a bit the discussion to the other, what other tools could you identify as a way to fight disinformation towards young people? So we heard about media literacy, we heard about the role of journalists, of libraries. Are you seeing any other tools that can be developed in use or encouraged at EU level?
Please.
Just to talk about also the Digital Service Act, I mean, it was very important also to give some responsibility to these big networks on social media. Of course, literacy is, first of all, that is key. And I myself was teacher on that, so how Pédagogie des médias, it was called, so how to manage. You have to learn that, because otherwise you are really, the strategy, the communication strategy are so subtle and also partly managed by algorithms. So on the one hand, it's also important to responsibilize these digital platforms. But on the other hand, it's really the discussion we need to make also with people and with young persons especially about freedom of expression. So it's really the right middle way to find what do we allow on social media and where do we have to put a red line. And so therefore, and this should be managed by human sides, not by algorithm, because otherwise we have the situation that they censor, for example, if you're standing in a museum and you have behind you a naked painting, then it's going to be censored. So human side is very important, and I think that's something also the Digital Service Act that was voted is very important in order to tackle that. But just to say that it is not black-white, and that it's more important indeed to sensibilize, to have a very critical approach to all media and to listen to different media. I think that is very important, and not only media that you find on networks, on social media, but also that is still important also to read and to go more into the depths of the subject, to hear different point of views.
What about you, Irina Joveva?
I think we as a politicians also have to take responsibility, and we have to communicate maybe more directly or more in a way that young people could understand us, if you know what I mean. Yes. You know, they have to feel like they are like us, because they are, you know. I mean, because everything else was already mentioned, that's why I don't mention it, but of course DSA is very important, media literacy, obviously the key. And I really hate algorithms, and I think that with the DSA we will fight it better. With that. Maybe just to answer also about the other question.
I was actually about to ask you about this second question. So what can the EU do to help young people who don't have advanced diplomas or elsewhere? So yeah, what would you say the EU can do?
I think it's very important to understand that the labor issues are in responsibilities of the member states as such. So we cannot, like, you know, say, I mean, we can say what it's better or to do, but we cannot, like, you have to do this and this and this. So it's important to know that, but I still think that we have to do as much as we can to especially give maybe traineeships, you know, or practices for those who, I mean, obviously not everyone can be educated as much, you know, especially I know the problems in Bulgaria and some other member states like it. So it's important to give them quality traineeships to everyone and to treat people in that way equally, young people. One important issue is also the unpaid traineeships. We fight a lot. Unfortunately, in February, it didn't pass on the plenary, the ban on unpaid internships, but I really do hope that in the next reports or resolutions or legislative files we will solve also that. So yeah, quality traineeships definitely for everyone, because everyone has a right to, you know, step into the labor market.
And to open up again the discussion to Dace Melbārde, Tilly Metz, what other possible ways you see the EU possibly be able to intervene to help fight youth unemployment, for instance, bearing in mind, like you said, that in many cases it's a national competency, so the competence of EU is unfortunately limited. But is there anything that you would see possible? Mrs. Melbārde, maybe.
I think that I think we have to realize that everything starts with education. So it means that first of all we have to do the best we can to provide good education to young people, and I'm looking forward to the new initiative that is European education area, where we have highlighted the need to approach young people from remote areas and from vulnerable groups, and as early as possible we engage young people in quality education. They will be then more mobile in the job market. It's first. Second, of course, it's important that we are able to identify young people which are dropouts and which are without education and without job. And I think that there are two good initiatives also coming from the European Union. It's Youth Guarantee and the absolutely new program called ALMA, which was introduced in parallel with European Youth Year. I'm very much looking forward to this youth program ALMA, which is a sort of Erasmus for young people seeking jobs, and this, as I understand, this program opens opportunities for young people on the one hand to be mobile, to find job in other country, to meet young friends, and in that way also to learn more about cultures, and get different experiences. On the other hand, they have real opportunity to really to work and to improve skills.
And as a final remark on this question, Tilly Metz, maybe?
Yeah, first of all, I think we did already a lot on the level of the universities of recognizing the different certification diplomas that you get. There is the Processus de Bologne, there we have, but we do need to do the same. Again, also talking about other professions. When you, for example, are working as esthetician, sorry, I don't find the word now this morning in English, that it is recognized in different countries by allowing to get experience throughout Europe, and their ALMA indeed is a great initiative. So for allowing not only people from universities to travel, but also those, I mentioned it already before, doing an apprenticeship. And in general, I think this is one of the elements that could allow to make this bridge from what you study then to the employment, to get different experience. And on the other hand, what we have to avoid now is that we have brain drains from one country to another country because maybe you have a better salary there. But I think it's really key that we allowed young people, whatever they study, to travel, to get different experience, to learn different cultures. And I think also on your CV afterwards, this is really an atu. It's really an advantage if you can show that you traveled, that you made those different experiences in the EU, that you learned about different people, that you knew how to manage when you are in a different country, in a different city where you have to learn a lot.
Well, thank you for this first introduction discussion, because there is more to come, of course. I think it was very interesting because it allowed us to see how wide actually the issues affecting the young people are. We have, of course, the European Year of the Youth, and actually the difficulties for some young people to hear that there is a European Year of the Youth, but also disinformation, the question of unemployment. So it's interesting to see actually that youth is not just let's say a buzzword. It's actually a lot of very concrete issues that affect them. So now we're going to continue and actually bring young people, young influencers, to ask you their questions about how to make the EU and young people click again. Let's say, all the while playing a little game. So let's have a short break, and then we are going to be right back. And welcome back to the second part of today's event, where we will actually give the floor to young Europeans who have dedicated themselves to helping other young people understand politics and EU politics and other subjects through the content they create, whether it's on YouTube, on Instagram, or on Twitch even. So first we have Karim Alalpesh, who is the biggest YouTuber and streamer on EU politics in Spanish. So welcome Karim.
Thank you.
Then we have Marcos Moscovidis from Germany, who is the creator of the activism platform EU4You. And finally, Lukáš Fričer, also known as Luke Fry, who is a Czech YouTuber. So welcome you all to the European Parliament first, and to this event. So Before we dive into it, let me explain how we're going to proceed, because there's a little originality to this. So we're going to have a chat, a nice chat. Karim, Marcos, and Lukasz all have questions for you about what matters for young people and how to make the EU more relevant to them. But we're also going to play 2 rounds of a video game to have a little fun and help the discussion and break down a bit the barrier and have an informal talk. After all, I mean, the Parliament recently said in a report that half the Europeans are playing video games and 70% of young people. So we're sticking to the theme by playing a little game. But it's nothing complicated. It's a mini golf game. All you need is the mouse. So I will explain the game when we get to it. But first, let's have already a first round of question and discussion. So I will turn to you, maybe Marcos, to let you ask the question that you may have to our guest today.
Thank you so much for the invitation, first of all. It's nice that the European Parliament is reaching out to young people and giving us the chance to interact with the members of the Parliament. So my question would be, what do you think, in your opinion, what do young people actually care about? Because I always get messages from them. They ask me certain things. They tell me what's on their mind, but I'm wondering what has come through to you. So in your perception, what is concerning young people right now in the EU?
Who wants to take it first? Tilly Metz?
Yes, I can start. I must say I really appreciated all what the Fridays for Future are doing, all those youngsters going on the street, fighting for their future, fighting about climate change. They want action. So if you would ask me, I think they are really worried about the climate change, the biodiversity loss. Second, of course, I would say employment. They are worried about, do I have a job? Can I live? I mean, we are in times of multiple crises. We lived we had a pandemic. We are still in it. We have war on the continent of Europe. So we have this energy crisis. So I think they're really worried about in general their future. So that would be my 2 main points: job, inflation, and climate change.
Dace Melbārde, maybe?
I think it very much depends on the region of Europe they've been living. I believe that in the region I live, I'm from Latvia, the young people really feel a little bit afraid of war going on quite close to our borders. So it's one. If we look at the geopolitics, then if we look at Eurobarometer, then every time we see that one of the strong priorities is education for many young people. Also, and what is important for young people, that relationships, having friends, having good time. Then, of course, I agree that climate change is overarching interest of many young people, and I'm happy that young people think about it more than even adults. But I have to add that in our region, I think that social inequality also comes out as one of the priorities that should be put on the agenda of politics more and more.
And what about you, Ms. Joveva?
I speak with them a lot, because I answer them like directly on Facebook or Instagram, and I think they really appreciate, when they get an answer from a politician. And their questions are like very different, and it really depends on a case-by-case actually issue. But if I focus, because mostly, of course, I speak from young people from Slovenia, because I'm from there. And first thing that they want to know, not worried, but they really want to know what we are doing, not only for them, but like in general, because they find it hard to understand, because they feel like we are so far away, and they feel like we are not doing anything, or at least not enough for them. So that's the main issue that I speak with them, when I'm trying to explain to them what I'm doing or what we are doing. But what they are worried about the most, I think that I have to agree here with my colleague Lily, it's really about the climate change and the jobs, especially, I think, the jobs. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the answers.
Lukasz, what would be your question to our guest?
Firstly, thanks for the invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. As we were speaking about the Fridays for Future, I think it's pretty interesting that young people are more active in the last years. They are doing these strikes, universities for climate, and so on. How we can read that young people are more active in the last years? Does it mean that they care more about the European politics, or how we can read that?
Dace Melbārde?
I'm just thinking and remembering that experience before the previous European elections, that we invested in Latvia quite a lot in a youth campaign called I Will Vote This Time. And we engaged opinion makers of young people, influencers like you are, and I think it worked quite well. And since it was a good experience, it's something we continue. We continue to engage influencers, youth stars in a youth work, and in that way just activate young people themselves. Because I think it's important somehow that these opinion makers, that they are able somehow to make feel young people just to be active, to show your interest in European issues, in politics. It's cool. I think it's one way how we can explain it.
Irina Joveva?
Yes, I completely agree. I think the campaigns and the engagement helped a lot, but I also do think that they care more because they are involved more, you know. I think we have done a lot, but also, you know, the social media here is important because I think that they can see or read a lot more than they used to, and they feel maybe even more connected, you know, and they, you know, if they can make a comment or write to any one of us, you know, that they even get an answer, then they, you know, see that it's possible maybe to do something, and that we don't treat them like, you know, someone that we don't care about. So I think that that's why they care a lot, and it's also depending on the national issues I think that they have, because in Slovenia with the previous government they were engaged really a lot because they saw that it's going so bad that they have to do something, and they really, like, the civil society from youngsters was like so up in the previous government that it was so crazy and so nice to see, you know, because they felt that finally felt that if anyone can make a change, it's us. So they really did it. They connected, and it was really nice to see, and they actually continue with doing so. So yeah, the trigger was a bad government, but still, you know, the trigger was here, and now it's better.
Tilly Metz.
Just very shortly, because that was already said, I mean, they got the emergency. They are aware that there is really an emergency. And I think young people are just fed up with politics, with just nice words. They want to see actions, and it is really about their future. And it's also kind of success, indeed, also of education and democracy, that they went on the street and that they were listening to the scientists and fighting for their rights. So, for me, the main message would be, thank you, they got the emergency and they are making pressure now, and they are so right.
Thank you very much for your answers.
And to finish this first round of questions, Karim, maybe?
Yes, well, first of all, also thank you for inviting me
welcome.
here. I think it's such a good opportunity to have this talk. So I wanted to link my question with the first answer that you were giving. In the end, it's like tough to explain what you do as MEPs here in the Parliament. So just to keep it short, the question, I would like for you to mention one advantage directly that young people can get from the European Union, because in the end I think if young people know how directly this is influencing them positively, they can understand better how the European Union works for them. So I don't know who would like to start, but
Maybe Irina Joveva, since you got inspiration from a first answer. So.
No, but I think the biggest advantage they have are the programs that we are giving them, and I think that they are quite aware of them, and I think that that's the most important advantage. If I have to stick with one, I will choose the Erasmus Plus, and also the new one, Alma, that we spoke about before, so it's about the jobs. The same as Erasmus, but for jobs. So that's, I think, the really main issue, that they also see and feel, you know.
Tilly Metz, what's your pick?
Yeah, my first would really be the possibility, EU gives me the possibility to travel, to learn different people, to get to know different cultures, different history. So the diversity, our slogan is United in Diversity, that they can concretely, through programs like that were mentioned, but also Discover EU, travel and get to know different people and make different experiences.
To finish, Dace Melbārde?
Just not to repeat, I would add security and solidarity. I think it's very important again for me and for young people coming from Latvia.
All right, so that's concludes it for the first round of questions. So now let's actually dive into the game. So I prepared normally everything on your laptop. So you all needed to click. So I prepared everything. You all just need to click start. And okay, so now it's loading. Let me know if it's loading on your side as well. Okay, perfect. So I will explain.
I didn't do anything, but it looked okay.
Perfect. So all you need is the mouth.
Okay.
So it's waiting for you. So all you need to do is to click, left click, and then you drag back and forth. So you click and you see like a drag back and forth. You see the little line that shows the strength of it. I'll see that Marcus shot first, and so we have to reach the pole in as little strike as possible. So let's try this. Good thing that my camera is not on because I'm being terrible. So you see, I'm not having an unfair advantage over you. Who here is playing a bit video games or has a history in playing video games? Karim, I see you're smiling.
Yes, when I can, when I have the time, I play video games. I have to say I'm not playing like every video game. I'm more focused on sports, so NBA or football, something like that. But I'm also open to this kind of casual games.
I see that you need to click and maintain.
Okay.
Maintain and then
See
drag
how much
them.
I play now.
Okay, that's already good things to know.
Yeah, so you need to keep and then define the line to it.
Okay, but I don't even know where I have to. Where is the? Ah,
It's
there.
straight, yes,
You have to
it's
hold it.
Okay.
Tilly Metz is taking the advantage.
Hold and then you can
Yes, you have
drag
to
it.
hold and then to drag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
So I have to
Then
go
you
to
release
the
Yeah, it's spinning off.
Okay, I
to
understand.
the flag.
Yeah, exactly.
It worked.
It worked.
It's almost my first experience with video games.
Oh, really?
yeah, because
I never
I don't play.
Oh, well, even more grateful that you're trying it
You have more
with
of a
us.
straight option.
My first
The
and
whole?
last video game I played was Super Mario.
What exactly
a
So
do you have
that's
to do?
20 plus years ago, just so
Okay,
you know.
that way it's okay.
But how
So
do
I'm
I
doing
get
good.
out there?
I have to get it.
Yes, yes.
Because I don't play golf as well.
I have to be, I have
you
to
have
be
more
honest
career.
with you. I think that I've played more virtual mini golf than actual mini golf. And I say that having played maybe 1 hour of the game before the stream. So
I did it.
you did it.
Ah, okay. Now
Maybe not so
I see
hard.
my
A
flag.
bit less, a bit less.
Okay. Yeah,
Has to be a soft touch.
respect.
In any case, like there is a timer. So in 40 seconds, we're gonna go to the next hole. So let's try.
Okay.
Ooh, and you can also hit.
Yeah, the ball interact with each other. So
Somebody
Okay.
helped me, but I don't know who. So thanks.
It's the other way. The other way.
that's European
That way?
solidarity for you. Oh, quick shot.
I think somebody is also helping me there because it's not me. Oh, I don't know. There you go.
You have to. So when you drag, you have the little line. It says the strength at which you shoot. But if you want something strong, the longer the line like that, or if you want something shorter, it's more soft. Oh, actually, we're going to go to
No, but
the.
it's tough because of the strength.
Thank you very much.
It has too much.
Yeah.
It has too
I can be
much
helping
power.
you next time.
Because I play tennis and it's
I think
quite
I
a
did not
different
very
one.
Okay, so now we're going to the next one. It's getting a bit more. Not difficult, but original because now we have a little thing to reach.
Like this.
Oh, all in one.
Okay.
Oh,
How do you
we are
make
still
it more
going.
softly?
Not to push it so much. Yeah,
okay.
just a little bit.
Step by step?
Yeah, step by step. It's
I'm
better to go like one small,
I did it.
one small, and then.
But you are playing on my ground too, you others.
Everyone is on the same. Is on the same thing.
Okay, that is what I discovered just now.
How are you doing on this one?
I don't know.
No, but
Just turn around.
But how do I turn around?
With the like,
With the mouth.
Like this?
Yeah.
yeah.
Ah. No, okay.
You can-
Je suis vraiment nulle. Hein.
You're discovering it. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean,
Okay.
Yes.
Well done.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a question like while we're playing to maybe Marcos, Lukáš, and Karim. Like, so you make content that covers politics and on social media. Well done. Well done. How did you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to make content on politics, because it's not the easiest topic to talk about. It's not necessarily the most popular way. It can be divisive. So why did you decide to go that to cover this kind of content?
Well, in my case, it was because I made the trainship here. I was a Schumann trainee in 2018, so it was between all the Brexit stuff, so it was pretty interesting. And then as I studied international relations, still the European Union wasn't too clear to me. So I decided to start in YouTube, trying to explain everything in a simple way and also trying to make it funny as much as it's possible. So that's why I started.
Marcos?
It's a similar story. I was doing a traineeship in the parliament with an MEP in 2018. And while I was there, I was just continuously telling my friends what I'm doing, annoying them against their will, just sharing my daily life, basically showing what I'm up to, what's happening in the EU. And after a while, at first they were just annoyed because who cares about politics? But then after a while, they understood that, okay, some of these things actually have a big influence on us. And I tried to present it in a as broken down manner as possible. And this was also happening simultaneously to Brexit. And in Brexit, we saw the lowest voting group was the 18 to 25-year-olds. And I thought, okay, we have European elections coming up next year. I don't want the same that happened in Brexit, namely young people who are affected the most by future decisions, not taking part in an election that is important. So I thought in order to give people a reason to vote, they need to be aware of very concrete things that the EU can do for them or can't do for them so that they improve it. And that's why I started the project and tried to, in the run-up to the elections, every single day, give them a certain reason what the EU is doing for them. That's why the project is called EU for You, or what it isn't doing as well.
And Lukáš, to finish, what was your...
I'm not covering just the European politics.
Yeah, you're doing more actually than politics.
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of things.
But for me, it is important to two things, I think. If I don't really deeply understand something, probably there will be more people that have the same problem. So I can learn it and then explain it to the people. And the second thing is when there is a theme that touches us, that somehow comes to our life, it's something we should talk about, and that's also the European politics as well. So that's why I'm covering the themes I am covering.
Okay, interesting. So we moved on to all four. So we're moving on. Lukáš, there's a little slope, so you need to put more strength. But maybe since we're playing a game, like when we're playing a game right now with MEPs, and see everyone is struggling as his own level to the game, so you know everyone is more or less on an equal footing. But do you feel like playing a video game with young people, in your case, something that can help talk about EU politics, make EU politics more relatable, make it more accessible, or without like going into let's say a high fellow kids kind of counterbalance where it seems a bit forced or artificial, and so you get backlash from your people. So what do you think about that, Lukáš, maybe? Or?
There are a lot of things that we can use to make these hard themes more popular and more friendly for young people. So also the game can be something we can use. I more often use some humor, some funny things in my videos that helps me to communicate the hard things. But game is also a good thing, I suppose.
Okay. And maybe I will turn to an MEP. So maybe Ms. Joveva. So what do you do, like in terms of activity, if you want to make something that a young person can read? So right now we're playing a video game, but what other things can you do to like connect with them and say, oh, you see, I'm a real person like you, and we can do something that you appreciate as well?
I think that's the most important, actually, thing here, to show to everyone that we are also, human, real persons, and also to maybe get out of our comfort zones sometimes. So this is, I think, quite a lot out of our comfort zone.
Yes.
But it's nice, to see, for them to see that we're not always like, I don't know, in the offices, like sitting or just speaking some things that they don't understand. So I think it's very good also to communicate also with them in this way. But what I do, I was a journalist before for 8 years, so maybe that's an important fact. But I always say that if you cannot explain something, it doesn't matter if it's complicated or not, but everything is complicated here in the European Union, almost. If you cannot explain it in 1 minute, so that everyone can understand, like, I don't know, young people, but also older ones, then you don't know a lot about it, or you didn't prepare enough about it. I know because I had to do it every single day as a journalist, and I had only 1 minute. And it was really, it was hard, but it could be done. Mm-hmm. And I saw then that it can be done, so I'm trying to do my best also here to not simplify, but just to explain to them in maybe a simple way possible. You also mentioned humor. I also try to, when I write something, to make it a little bit humorous or use an emoji, but not a lot. But, just to have a balance, that it's not always so serious and complicated, but it's really real stuff that they can relate to.
And what about you, for instance, Dace Melbārde? What do you do, for instance, when you need to reach out to young people and talk about what you do in the Parliament?
Mm-hmm. Actually, since I became a member of European Parliament, I established my permanent forum for young people already since 2019, called With Strong Roots in Latvia and Europe. So, and it includes youth leadership activities and workshops on European issues. And I really try to combine skills development with knowledge about EU, and the skills development on leadership. It's something that is very attractive for young people. They are very open to have such type of trainings. And then you add also the knowledge about Europe. And this way that it works quite well. And when you organize such trainings and seminars, you have to be ready to adapt to methods which are more like familiar for young people. So you have to be ready to sit on the floor and to talk with young people, to eat pizzas with them, to drink cola. I don't like, but so
play mini golf.
Yeah, actually.
So here I'm going to use my difficult responsibility as a moderator. I think that time is passing, so I'm going to cut short like this gaming session, and we're going to go back to the question of our influencer guest here. So maybe Marcos, we started with you last time. So let's do it with us. Karim, what would be your question to our guest?
Yeah, I'm wondering, as we're talking about your personal side and connecting with young people, I've always wondered, MEPs, I mean, you have a tough job in a lot of senses, but also if you have to explain it. So I guess you have or children or friends that are young, or I don't know, neighbors that are between 18 and 20 something. So how do you explain at some point when you are chatting, I don't know, in the lift or whenever, when you are chatting about your job and they ask you, hey, what about you? I mean, what do you do? How do you explain that simply?
In 1 minute.
Tilly Metz, maybe.
Yes, I have indeed a daughter, 26 years old, and of course we have a lot of discussion on my work. She has a restaurant. She's working in a very different domain than I, so we have very lively exchanges. But I have also a very young team around me, and it's very good to listen to them, to have them. And if I'm asked what are you doing, I say I have really the honor and the luxury to really fight at the European level for the causes I really believe in, and that's for more than 400 million people. So I really consider it as an enormous honor to fight for these causes, be it on health, animal welfare, etc. So the subjects that really close to to my heart. And indeed, one of our main job is to make it understandable to a large public. I think that is even our job. I mean, the scientists can use scientific word, and I'm really appreciating discussion with young people on eye level. And I think also in my team, I always say everybody has her or his role to play, but we are a team, and that's it. So I really like to listen, and we can learn really a lot from each other.
Irina Joveva?
Yes. My child is 1.5 years old, so she doesn't count here. But you know, when I speak with the young people, I'm young, but not as young as them, because when I listen to them, like from 18 to 20 or 20 something, I'm like, what? I mean, I thought I was young, and then I'm listening to them. It's 10 years plus, but still, you know, they are it's so different times from my times. So I try to adapt, you know, and I try to answer to them to every single question, but they really don't have no complicated questions. They just want to know what's your typical work day, and then I explain, you know. I don't go to details if they don't want to. I just answer, and then maybe in the next question or the next question or the next day or whatever, they will also maybe look for something on the internet by themselves, because they will feel engaged, and then they will ask also some more content-related questions. So I just adapt to them and answer, and try to answer, as I said, in as simple way as possible. And just for them to know that I'm nothing more than them. I was elected, so, you know, I'm not here because of me, but I'm here because of them and for them. So that's what I always try to do and say.
Dace Melbārde?
I have a daughter of 16 years old, so it's the right age to speak about young people. What I do, I bring her with me in a lot of activities. I really engage her. So, and actually during COVID, she was like, for me also as a sample what's going on with young people. So actually, and through my daughter and her friends, I noticed, and I also started myself to speak about health issues of young people. So yeah, to bring with me, to engage in my activities, I think it's the best way how to make her understand what I'm doing.
Lukáš, what would be your question?
Yeah, I would stick with the young people and themes that they are really interested in, like, for example, climate change and so on. Sometimes it could be pretty desperate to make some strikes, some protests and so on, and don't see any result in the end. What can young people do, really do at the European Parliament? Is there any way that they can participate more than just go to some protest or on some strike?
Tilly Metz?
Yes, I can maybe start. So first of all, I think it's very important that they know that the people they are in the future, or I hope as soon as possible, be able to vote, to analyze a little bit what are they really standing for. So, or analyzing also what are they voting for. So it's again, information literacy is very important, so that they get the information, but that they ask also to meet with politicians and tell me openly what are you fighting for when you are at the council as a minister, so to understand better. But at the European level, we have also the European Citizens Initiative. So you can start really like a European petition when you are young. You can come, of course, to visit. And I think we as a European Parliament are one of the most transparent parliaments of the world. So you can come and listen. I don't know how it's in other political groups, but you can come and listen what are our discussions at the Greens FR group. You can come and listen to a committee meeting. You, of course, can listen to the plenary, and it's also streamed online. So information is really key. And at the European level, there are different entrants where you can really see what is really happening there. Of course, visits are always welcome, really, to see on the ground how is our daily life here and what are also our competence, what we can decide and what not.
Dace Melbārde, you want to answer?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that it's more efficient to join forces with other young people and to be part of NGO. I think it's a one gateway how to engage more purposefully in setting up the EU agenda through young people, so European Youth Forum, for instance. And I think the second issue I'd like to raise here is, if you want to be active and really to influence something, you have to be ready to learn a lot. It's not enough just to have your knowledge at school. You have to be ready to learn additionally. So and there are so many opportunities online now provided by so absolutely magnificent universities of the world, and many of these opportunities are free of charge. So, language. I think that learning foreign languages, it's very important. If you want to be active citizen of European Union, you have to know language. Yes, more.
I completely agree with both of you, but maybe just to add, I think that every one of us should have at least one trainee. It's important, paid, obviously, just to be exact, but I think it's important for them to come here and, to see from first hand, not just to hear about it and, listen to us or whatever, but to come here and see what actually we are doing and what can also they do, to contribute. Because, I don't know, I will speak for myself, but my trainees are not making me coffee or bringing me some purses or whatever, They really do stuff that also my assistants do. And I think it's important that we treat them like people that are capable of doing it. Because they are, and we shouldn't look at them as, yes, they are young, but they can give a lot. They can teach also us a lot. I agree that they have to teach a lot, but they can also teach us really a lot.
And further question, Markus?
Yeah, my question is related to young people in Europe, and I'm specifically saying Europe and not just EU because I'm looking beyond the EU borders. So Croatia is a member state that joined in 2013. I have a lot of family there and roots in the country, but I also have a lot of friends in other candidate countries, and many of them have been looking to the EU with great hopes for many, many years, not just young people, of course, but since this is the topic, we're focusing on them. How do you tell young people that are living beyond the EU borders, but in candidate countries or aspiring countries, that the EU is still for them and cares for them? Because a lot of them are growing more and more negative toward it because they feel like they're being failed by it. They only see stalled processes and no real progress. So what do you as MEPs think about this?
Monsieur?
I can maybe start because my parents come from North Macedonia, so I know a lot, and I also have family there. It's very hard to explain them. It's getting harder and harder, really, because they are so angry and annoyed and depressed, and they really don't actually care anymore, So I'm honest with them. I say, we in the European Parliament most of us, we also have some MEPs that have different opinions, but they are a minority. So, the majority in the Parliament really does everything in our power to help them and to give them what they deserve. But unfortunately, it doesn't depend on us. We have the council here and the veto issues and everything, and it's really frustrating also for us. So I'm just honest with them, and I really understand. I really do, because they are my people, they are my family. But I still want to give them, also honesty, but also some optimism, because I try to explain to them that we care, not everyone is like, we don't care, but we here in the Parliament, majority of us, and majority of the European Union as such actually, cares about them. And we are trying to do everything that is in our power to help them in any other way. And now I think things are slowly moving, finally, and it's really important for them to know also that something is going on, and it's probably going to be a long way, but it's happening. So yeah, honesty is the key here, I think.
Dace Melbārde?
As far as I know, Erasmus programs are open also for young people outside Europe. So it's the first thing I would say then, that use already existing experiences. Second issue, I would encourage young people to become more active themselves and to become future politicians of their countries and to change their countries, to open opportunities to become members of European Union.
Sounds very good. And Tilly Metz, maybe to finish?
Yes, in general, I think it's very important to see the state where we are right now, where we have this multiple crisis. I said already in Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine. So it's also a topic as we, of course, for the Ukraine too. And I think it's very important to say to the people, you are completely right, and we're fighting with you. We need those countries that are candidates, that are working to be member of the European Parliament since long years already. And we have really to consider them and to take it serious and to advance. But right now, I think with this multiple crisis, it's also, I mean, we have this war that is very important. But in general, we have to say that the EU has also missions and competences outside the EU. Myself, I'm now chairing the relations with Central America. So the treaty foresees also that we have a mission to do outside the EU to help in building up democracies, to have this exchange again on eye level with those other countries, to be peace builders also outside the EU. So that's in the treaty. It's just not something nice to have. It's really in the treaties. It's one of our missions also to be active outside the EU.
Well, thank you for that. So I promised a second round of game. I'm looking at the time, so I made a promise, so I'm going to respect it. I'm going to launch a shorter game, so it's only going to be 3 all, shorter, 3 minutes max. And at the same time, we're going to go into a last round of discussion with maybe a question that will be more directed to our influencer guests there. You are there, you're the young people. I don't consider myself old, I'm a bit like Miss Joveva, but younger than me, I have to accept this reality. What advice would you give, would you give to the MEPs that are there and MEPs in general to help them reach out to young people, make what they do more appealing, more interesting for people, and especially as, like I mentioned in the introduction, we're getting closer to the European election in 2024. So getting young people to vote is going to be ever more important. So what would be your advice to them? So Karin, maybe?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I mean, I think this is always repeated in these kind of questions, but I would say social media. I think that's the easiest way and a really powerful tool to reach young people through the most serious content or the most sporadic and funny content. So you can make stories in Instagram, you can make some tweets, you can tell people what are your thoughts about something suddenly whenever you want. So I think that's a really good way to connect with young people. And also, if you want to motivate them to vote, also not only to say we have to vote, but to give some reasons, and not only for voting, but what has happened during these 5 years when you have maybe or haven't voted. So I would focus maybe the message on that way, and always through social media.
Mm-hmm. Lukáš?
I have to completely agree. I would just repeat it. Social media, and also show what really can European Union do for young people, and how does the EU influence their lives.
Markus.
I would just add to be as concrete as possible and don't underestimate the knowledge young people have also, on the one hand, and on the other hand, when I say concrete, I mean things like give them examples when votes were very, very tight and when really a few votes for MEPs decided the outcome of something, so that they have a reason to vote. Because if you tell them, because of 2 members of parliament that were voted in, a whole policy changed in one direction or another, it shows them that it makes sense to go out to elections, it makes sense to go campaigning. So just be concrete and don't underestimate their knowledge.
Yeah.
So is that good advice, do you think, Tilly Metz, that you can get behind this? I'm sure that you're doing already a lot to be on social media and try to be appealing, but...
If I can tell about a personal experience, first of all, I totally agree on what was said by all of you, but I had a discussion with my team, shall I go on TikTok or not? Because at the beginning, I was in favor, strangely, and my team said, no, that's not serious, you cannot dance on the table, what do you imagine, TikTok? And then I have one person, because it's important to have somebody really taking care about your communication, because you can work a lot, but if you don't communicate about your work, it's lost, and especially for young people. So we win, even though we were in the minority. So now I'm on TikTok, and I think it's very challenging to try to make a political message, and even to say also to very young people why politics is important and concerns us all. And politics starts at home. It starts as soon as you live in a society, in a community. And I think it's very challenging, but I do definitely not regret, because you can make also pass messages on a very funny way. And so that would have been your question to you if I would not have been on TikTok. Now, what do you think about politicians? Should they be on TikTok or not? But as I understand you, it would be rather yes. But I would be curious how you see politicians on TikTok.
It's a risky question. Because usually we think automatically TikTok is only dances, and I would say the great majority of the content is people dancing and then putting some messages with the rhythm. But I think maybe you can make, I don't know, a 30 seconds video with a lot of cuts of your day in the plenary. I think that's something that some MEPs have already done. Or maybe, I don't know, to share some thoughts that you have concerning a law you are working in. Something like that maybe could be good in TikTok, also with some music and some rhythm. Otherwise, people are not going to engage probably.
So I'm going again to have to use, unfortunately, my responsibility as a moderator. We're reaching the end. Game-wise, it's perfect. We finished right in time. So I'm going to do a short conclusion. But again, it's just the beginning of a longer conversation. I mean, I'm sure that you will exchange outside the scope of the event. So first, I want to thank you all for agreeing to participate to this event on European youth and agreeing to come to play a video game. I know it's something that you do every day in the European Parliament. I think there was like very interesting conversation, very interesting points that were made both from the side of MEPs, but also good topics brought by our guest influencer. I would also, as myself, would like to thank Net Plus for organizing this event. As for the audience, don't forget to follow our Net Plus, to follow our guest MEPs, our guest influencers, and maybe myself if you feel like it. But again, like I was mentioning, this is just the beginning of the conversation. European youth is something that is more and more important as we're getting closer to 2024. It's going to be a challenge for everyone there, whether you're an influencer, whether you're a politician, to get out there and get people to actually cast a vote for 2024. So again, thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the experience.
Totally. Thank you very much for inviting.
Thank you.